Simple one, a nice easy one as a warm-up. Is Prince Harry happy with his new life in California?
Ish. I'd say half and half. He'd love to be able to be both in California and have great status in Britain. And the lack of any status in Britain and diminishing status in California means that I think on the whole, he's pretty frustrated.
We're going to come to the rather perilous state of their respective careers in the public eye. Can I ask for your appraisal of the health of their marriage?
Well, in my view, the marriage is okay. I mean, I think that Harry always needed and loved Meghan. It was a marriage made in heaven for him. She obviously went into the marriage with other things in mind, namely fame and fortune and a glittering career in California. But I think on the whole, they have a good relationship. I don't think there's any evidence that they don't.
What about the suggestion that Meghan is a controlling, narcissistic personality? Of course, your brilliant previous book, which was Revenge, suggested that it was actually Meghan Markle that was the driving force behind Harry's departure from the royal family.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think what I show in this book is, in that episode, that she actually sort of fueled his grievances. What happened until he met Meghan, he was quite happy in Britain. He sometimes obviously frustrated about not being able to land a stable relationship with a woman. But in terms of his status, he was much loved, very popular, and was doing very well. But when she got here and saw what fate awaited her in terms of being number two to Kate and not living in the luxury she wanted and having to obey the royal commands, she stoked constantly that he should feel aggrieved and should feel unhappy. And I think that is in the end why he agreed. And he himself wanted to leave Britain because she told him it was impossible for them to live happily in Britain. And for that, I blame her entirely.
In your best-selling biographies of other public figures, including Tony Blair and King Charles, you've been very unforgiving in your portrayal of these complex personalities. Can you describe the Meghan Markle that you know to my viewers and listeners?
Well, I think the Meghan Markle I know is on the good side, intelligent, resourceful, definitely resilient under fire. But on the other hand, intensely selfish, only self-opinionated, unable to see anything other than through her own lens, as she would say, appalling treatment of her father and her friends, old friends, a very conflicted personality. But worst of all for her is that she couldn't find huge fame and fortune on her own accomplishments. Her problem is she has very limited talent. She doesn't isn't a great actress, to say the least. She doesn't actually come across as someone of great warmth in when she's not acting. There's no mystery about her. She is just a hugely ambitious, grasping person. And I think that is, in the end, what brings her down, that there is nothing original about her. She's tried her hardest through Netflix and all the various podcasts to be able to borrow a very indicative individual furrow and prove herself unique, and has consistently failed to do that. And the reason why, I may just say why it's so fascinating, is because, of course, they are global characters, they're global celebrities. They've caused enormous damage to the royal family, and we're all fascinated how this is going to end. And that's the nature of my book. She's now paying the price of betrayal.
In both of your books, you paint a picture of Meghan Markle as very ambitious, very fame-hungry, interested in social position and money. Are her ambitions at odds with what Harry wants?
Yes. I mean, Harry, if you are what he was, the third and now the fifth in line to succession, and you're a member of the royal family, your ambition isn't clearly material. I mean, he had all the money he needed. He had all the fame he needed. He had the applause he needed. The point about Meghan is she was looking for fame. She was looking for applause. She was looking for international recognition, which, of course, she failed to get because she had not enough talent. It was only by marrying Harry that she became the global celebrity that she is. Her problem is she can't earn any money anymore. She made her money selling the dirt on the royal family, much of it, of course, in my view, invented, and now finds herself at an unfortunate crossroads where she can't raise money by work anymore, other than tawdry things like going to Australia and this health farm, and needs to find a new way for the rest of her life, a new source of income. Harry, on the other hand, could easily just have returned to Britain and be embraced by the royal family, but I think that's now very difficult for him.
Thanks to the...
Was Prince Harry always destined to struggle outside the royal family? Or did everything change the moment Meghan Markle entered his life? It's one of the biggest questions surrounding the Duke and Duchess of Sussex today. Over the past few years, we've watched Harry go from one of the most popular members of the royal family to one of its most controversial. Multi-million-dollar deals have come and gone, public opinion has shifted, legal battles have piled up, and perhaps most surprisingly, conversations about whether Harry regrets leaving royal life are becoming louder than ever. But according to investigative royal author Tom Bower, none of this happened overnight. In his books Revenge and Betrayal, along with numerous interviews, Bower argues that Harry's downfall wasn't caused by one event. It was the result of a series of decisions that fundamentally changed his life, his public image, and even his relationship with the people closest to him. Today, we're breaking down Tom Bower's biggest arguments and asking one question that continues to divide royal watchers around the world. Was Harry actually better off before Meghan? Or did the royal family simply spend decades protecting an image that was never entirely real? Let's get into it. Harry's image before Meghan. One of Tom Bower's central arguments begins long before Meghan Markle entered the picture. According to Bower, Prince Harry's public image was carefully managed throughout his royal life. The palace communications teams, advisors and senior royals worked tirelessly to present Harry as the fun-loving prince, the relatable younger brother, the military veteran with a sense of humour, and the founder of the Invictus Games. When mistakes happened, they were often handled behind the scenes. When controversies emerged, experienced palace advisors helped control the narrative. Harry himself has acknowledged in interviews and in Spare that royal staff played a significant role in shaping public perception. Bower argues that while Harry certainly enjoyed genuine popularity, much of that success came from operating within an institution that protected him from the full consequences of his actions. The question then isn't whether Harry was popular. He clearly was. The question is whether that popularity could have existed without the royal family's support system.
And doesn't need more trouble from Harry and Meghan.
And mentioning other members of the royal family, you've reported that William advised Harry against rushing into this relationship with Meghan Markle when they were courting. I think they met in 2016. They courted for a couple of years, got married in 2018. William was concerned about the pace by which that relationship was maturing. Meanwhile, even Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, a discredited man, was pretty smart when he said to Harry, "You need to do your due diligence about this woman." Andrew was right, wasn't he?
Well, if the story is true, yes. But I think that Harry did his due diligence. I mean, Andrew is not one to speak about due diligence or any judgment at all. I wouldn't take a word of advice from him. But I do think that Harry, on the whole, was right. He was a man who couldn't find an English woman who caught up with his depressions, his paranoia, his lack of intellect, to be very crude about it. And Meghan gave him a safety net, obviously for her own purposes, but she really did give him the motherly and other love which he needed and support, and listened to all his complaints and his gripes. I think at the beginning they were a good team, and he was very proud of her. So I think that he chose, in that sense, well. The problem was he didn't realize her agenda, and as I show in the book, which I know is the first time of many new stories in the book, the royal family knew long before the wedding that Meghan was going to be trouble. As I describe in the book, there was a very famous member of the establishment who every 3 or 4 weeks sat with Meghan in Kensington Palace for more than an hour, explaining to her the job of being a part of the royal family. And after the third or fourth session, that person reported that she was going to be amazing trouble and didn't believe she'd stay. So the royal family knew before the wedding that they were going to face a major, major problem.
Meghan enters the picture. According to Bauer, everything changed after Meghan entered Harry's life. He argues that Harry became increasingly isolated from many of the advisors and long-time friends who had influenced him for years. In interviews, Bauer has repeatedly suggested that Meghan encouraged Harry to see many of those relationships differently, creating an us versus them mindset. Those claims remain Bauer's interpretation, and the Sussexes have strongly disputed many of his conclusions. Still, Bauer believes this shift marked the beginning of Harry relying on a much smaller circle of advisers, many of whom, he argues, lacked the institutional experience of the palace teams Harry had previously depended on. Leaving the royal family. Tom Bauer argues that leaving royal life wasn't necessarily the fatal mistake. The bigger mistake, he says, was leaving without a clear, long-term strategy. Harry and Meghan entered Hollywood with enormous public interest. They secured major deals with Netflix, Spotify, and Penguin Random House. For a time, it appeared that they had successfully reinvented themselves. But according to Bauer, curiosity isn't the same as long-term influence. Hollywood rewards consistency, successful projects, and the ability to continually attract audiences. As time passed, some partnerships ended, projects faced criticism, and questions about the Sussexes' long-term business model became more common. Bauer argues that they underestimated just how difficult it would be to maintain the momentum they enjoyed immediately after stepping back from royal duties.
Original Netflix deal, but of course we now know that the Sussexes have been unilaterally dumped by Netflix. Is it conceivable that the Sussexes could eventually run out of money?
Absolutely. I mean, the cost of living for them is enormous. I mean, the security alone, which they feel they need, must cost between $1.5 and $2 million a year. The upkeep of their home and their staff must cost at least another $2 million. And then there's the rest. So I think that they're running out of money. I mean, I've conservatively put their annual expenditure at $3 million, but for that they'd have to earn $4 or $5 million. And it's they're running out of money because they run out of people to interest to buy their story. And that's why I think in the end they'll be desperate to come back to Britain to revalidate and reconcile with the royal family, which in the end will be the only way they might be able to save themselves. But I think that's a remote possibility.
Is there a way back for Harry in regards to the royal family, his father, the king, and his brother, William?
I don't believe so. Definitely not in public with the king, which of course is exactly what Harry wants at the Invictus Games in Birmingham. I don't believe the king will dream of doing that, not least because there'll be riots from the Muslim population there when the Israeli competitors start turning up at the track. And secondly, I don't think William would allow it. William, I'm sure, and I completely understandably, is not going to have Harry making more trouble in Britain. He's had enough problems with Andrew. He doesn't need more problems with Harry. And the trouble is that letting Harry and Meghan back into Britain to revalidate their royal status will only give them another boost to sell themselves, either in Australia or Canada or wherever, to make money out of their royal titles.
Harry loses his identity. Another recurring theme in Bauer's analysis is Harry's sense of purpose. Inside the monarchy, Harry had a clearly defined role. He represented the crown. He supported military charities. He attended official engagements. He founded the Invictus Games. His identity was closely tied to public service. Outside that institution, Bauer argues Harry has struggled to establish a similarly clear role. Instead of being known primarily for his charitable work, headlines have increasingly focused on interviews, memoirs, legal disputes, and family conflicts. According to Bauer, Harry didn't simply leave a job, he left the very institution that gave his public life structure. The never-ending royal story. Bauer also argues that Harry and Meghan became trapped by one central narrative. The Oprah interview, the Netflix documentary, Spare, numerous television appearances. Many of these projects focused heavily on their experiences within the royal family. While those projects generated enormous global attention, Bauer believes audiences eventually wanted to see what Harry and Meghan were building, not just what they were leaving behind. Some commentators have described this as complaint fatigue, arguing that repeated discussions about past grievances made it harder for the couple to move their public image forward. Whether viewers agree with that assessment or not, it's become a recurring theme in discussions about the Sussexes brand.
I think that Harry never believed that he'd be able to be stripped of his titles. And nor for that matter did Andrew, because they were always believed they needed a very complicated act of parliament. Well, I think that has now been shot. I mean, clearly there was a constitutional fudge, and somebody just signed letters patent, and that removed Andrew's titles. I think if Harry and Meghan in any way threaten the royal family from now on, and as they have in the past, William will be minded to do exactly the same, not only to Harry and Meghan, but also their children, because he doesn't need a rival, hostile royal family in California. He's got enough problems to restore the monarchy after all the terrible things that have happened over the last year.
Financial pressures begin to grow. More recently, another issue has taken centre stage: money. Harry continues to face significant legal expenses linked to his various court cases. The couple reportedly maintains substantial security costs. They own an expensive California estate. And as some of their major commercial partnerships have evolved or ended, commentators have questioned whether maintaining their current lifestyle has become increasingly challenging. Bauer believes financial pressure may now be influencing many of the decisions Harry and Meghan make. He argues that sustaining a high-profile lifestyle requires consistent commercial success, and that becomes difficult when fewer major projects are arriving. Has Meghan become the face of the brand? One of Bauer's more controversial arguments is that Meghan gradually became the dominant public figure within the relationship. He suggests Harry increasingly appeared to support Meghan's ambitions rather than pursuing his own independent path. Supporters of the Sussexes strongly reject this interpretation, viewing the couple as equal partners. But Bauer argues that public perception matters. When people begin to see one partner leading while the other follows, that perception can shape how the entire relationship is viewed. Whether fair or unfair, it's a discussion that continues to appear across royal commentary.
Is not just ambitious, Tom, driven and intelligent in a strategic way. She's also transactional. isn't she? And there seems to be a pattern that when people cease to be of use to her, she drops them like a hot coal. For example, her first husband, Trevor Engelson, who helped her in her career in Hollywood, she gets the part in Suits, $50,000 an episode. He bites the dust. She sends him her rings back in the post. Similarly, you mentioned her father, Thomas Markle Sr., who it's reported has spent at least $500,000 on her education when he was a successful lighting director in the United States. He's fighting for his life in a Philippines hospital, and he doesn't even get a phone call from his daughter. So she's ruthless and transactional. Could Harry bite the dust when he ceases to be of use to the Duchess?
Well, that's always been the view of many people, that she will dump him when he is no longer much use. But she'd have to have an escape route. She'd have to find a sort of a Silicon Valley or somehow aging billionaire that would want to take her on. I don't think she'd walk into the wilderness. I can't imagine any man finding happiness with Meghan Markle. I mean, I think it'll be pretty difficult. But I'm told there are Americans that would find her attractive. She dresses up and looks terrific when she wants to. In private, she is an absolutely screaming woman, unable to control her emotions when she's criticized. Will she dump Harry? Well, there's no evidence that she will, but many believe that it's impossible for the marriage to continue. I think the children keep them together. I think the lack of escape for Harry to back the royal family will keep them together. But they're under huge pressure now because of the finances. And I think that is always a huge test, a big test on any relationship. So we must just wait and see. I mean, that's what makes this story so fascinating, because it plays out in front of us daily or weekly. And we just wonder, how will it end?
Harry's growing isolation. Bauer also questions Harry's support system today. According to his analysis, Harry is now physically and emotionally distant from many of the relationships that once grounded him. He's separated from much of his family. Many long-time friends are no longer publicly associated with him. Former palace advisors are gone. Even some celebrity relationships appear less visible than they once were. Bauer argues that setbacks become harder to navigate when someone has fewer trusted voices around them. Again, that's his interpretation, but it's one that has become increasingly prominent in discussions about Harry's future. Is Harry regretting his decision? Perhaps the most intriguing part of Bauer's analysis concerns Harry's future. Recent media reports have fueled speculation about whether Harry is looking for ways to rebuild relationships with the royal family. Some commentators believe he may want greater contact with King Charles. Others speculate about possible reconciliation efforts, though there is no official confirmation of any such plans. Bauer believes these stories may indicate Harry is beginning to reflect on what he gave up. Whether that's true remains impossible to verify. But the fact that these conversations are happening at all represents a dramatic shift from the confidence Harry projected when he and Meghan first left royal life.
It's my view that Harry loves Meghan, but I just wonder whether Meghan loves him, Tom.
Well, other than loving herself massively, and probably loving her children, perhaps Harry comes fourth. But she needs the prop. The problem with Meghan is that you only get what she wants you to know, other than the insiders who then leak what they see. And even in front of the insiders, she rations their access very, very carefully. Few people are actually allowed to watch Meghan and Harry alone. They were seen in Colombia alone, and there was a big row there. But, you know, these are marriages. I can't tell you. I mean, the thing about Meghan is that she fascinates us because she is so determined, so ruthless, so narcissistic, so determined to succeed. And at the moment, she's on a downward spiral. She's paying the price of betrayal. Betrayal not only of the royal family and her father, and as you say, her first husband, but lots of friends. Betrayal comes at a price. And that is why the book tells a whole new story about this extraordinary couple and obviously their battle with the royal family.
The clock is...
So, was Harry better off without Meghan? That brings us back to the central question. Was Harry better off before Meghan? Tom Bower's answer is clear. He believes Meghan fundamentally changed Harry's worldview, isolated him from trusted advisors, and encouraged decisions that ultimately damaged both his reputation and his future. Supporters of Harry and Meghan would strongly disagree. They argue Harry made his own choices, that he found happiness outside royal life, and that leaving the monarchy allowed him to speak openly about experiences he felt unable to discuss before. And perhaps that's the most important point. Harry is no longer the prince whose image was managed entirely by Buckingham Palace. Nor is he simply the husband Meghan's critics describe. He's a public figure making his own decisions, decisions that continue to shape how history may remember him. Whether his current struggles are the result of Meghan's influence, his own choices, or years of palace image management finally disappearing, is something every viewer will answer differently. One thing, however, is difficult to deny. The image the world once had of Prince Harry has changed dramatically. And according to Tom Bower, that transformation may be the most significant royal story of the past decade. If the recent headlines are any indication, the debate over who Prince Harry really is, and whether life outside the monarchy has lived up to its promise, is far from over.
Against us, Tom. A couple of quick ones before we let you go. Another extraordinary revelation from this fascinating book, which is already rightly at the top of the book charts, is that Queen Camilla took the view that perhaps Meghan had brainwashed Harry. What's the story there?
Well, I think that's exactly what I was saying about they realized before they even got married that Harry had become a sort of grievance machine. He had literally turned and changed from being this charming, loving young prince into a person who constantly complained. And that was entirely Meghan's making, because she wanted to go back to California. So the Queen rightly said she's brainwashed him.
And then very briefly, you've written a brilliant book about Charles. From memory, I think it's called Rebel King. I read it a year ago. How do you think Charles feels at the moment about his son? Where is Charles at emotionally in regard to Harry, do you think? Because we know that William is done with his brother. There's one quote attributed to William, "Effing hates his brother." What about Charles?
Well, desperation. Here's a sick father, estranged from his son, clearly racked with guilt about the way that he was treated as a child when Charles was going with Camilla, and the marriage clearly had broken down, then Diana died. Unable actually to find a way to solve a problem, not least because of Meghan and because of William. So torn.
It's the interview they all...
What do you think? Was Harry's image always protected by the royal family, or has Meghan played a significant role in the way the world sees him today? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more royal news, analysis, and commentary.